We hear about AI all the time, right? Companies like OpenAI and Google DeepMind are changing everything from art to medicine. But what if AI took on the biggest job of all, running an entire country? Today, we're going to dive into the promise, the peril, and the surprisingly messy reality of government by algorithm. So, just for a second, let's run a thought experiment. Imagine no more politicians, no more endless campaigns, no more partisan gridlock. Instead, a hyper intelligent AI makes the laws, manages the economy, the whole shebang. Is that a dream come true or a nightmare just waiting to happen? You know, the case for an AI leader is, on the surface, incredibly appealing. It basically promises a government free from all the human flaws we complain about every single day. So let's take a look at why anyone would even consider voting for a machine. I mean, the potential is just staggering. An AI could analyze economic data, public health info, and infrastructure needs in a split second. No human could ever do that. It wouldn't make decisions based on anger or ego or, the need to get reelected. The argument is that this could lead to radically more efficient and fair policies. Some people even imagine strengthening democracy by creating digital twins, virtual models of us citizens that could perfectly tell the government what we all want. And to put that potential in perspective, just look at this number. $10 trillion. According to the World Bank, that's roughly what governments around the world spend every year on goods and services. A huge chunk of that is lost to fraud and corruption. An incorruptible AI could, in theory, just eliminate that waste. Make sure every single dollar goes exactly where it's supposed to. This quote from Forbes really nails the feeling, doesn't it? When you look at the messy reality of human politics, the scandals, the self-interest, the gridlock, the idea of a logical, unbiased, data-driven leader starts to sound less like sci-fi and more like a breath of fresh air. But what if that perfect logic has a really, really dark side? And this is where the story takes a sharp turn, because the very same technology that promises a utopia could just as easily create the most efficient and most inescapable dictatorship in human history. Researchers have a name for this risk, and honestly, it's pretty chilling. They call it the despotic leviathan. Just imagine a state that knows not just what you buy, but can use artificial general intelligence, that's an AI with human-like cognitive abilities, to analyze everything about you, predict your behavior, and control your choices on a massive scale. We're talking about a government that isn't just powerful, but all-seeing and all-knowing. And this is not just a theory. As you can see from this table, government by algorithm already exists on a spectrum in China's social credit systems. On one end, you've got a place like Xinjiang, where it's mandatory and the data they collect is incredibly invasive. But on the other end, a city like Xiamen has a voluntary system that uses way less private data and doesn't even penalize you for a low score. It's a clear reminder that the tech is just a tool. Its impact depends entirely on the humans who build it. This brings us to what might be the single biggest puzzle in AI safety, the alignment problem. How in the world do you program a goal like maximize human flourishing into a machine? What does that even mean? If we get the instructions even slightly wrong, a superintelligence could follow those orders in ways that are totally catastrophic for us, without even being malicious. It might optimize the economy by getting rid of all personal freedom. But hey, we don't have to wait for some all-powerful superintelligence to see these challenges in action. The truth is, algorithms are already deeply tangled up in our governments, making decisions that affect our lives right now. It's already happening. In Estonia, AI is used for a pretty simple task, protecting privacy in legal documents. But in the US, there are over 1,000 different AI systems being used, for everything from predicting wildfires to detecting tax fraud. We already have these artificial bureaucrats making choices that used to require a human's discretion. And that's where things start to get really tricky. This Tesla example is just perfect. The car's AI was programmed to follow the law to the letter, which meant coming to a full, complete stop at every single stop sign. But we humans often do a rolling stop when it's safe. It's technically legal, but it's socially accepted. The AI just couldn't get that nuance. It created the system of perfect enforcement that felt rigid and weird. It's a great example of the clash between the black and white logic of code and the messy, gray areas of human society. So the most common solution you'll hear for this problem is, well, just keep a human in the loop. Let the algorithm make a suggestion, but have a person make the final call. Sounds sensible, right? Well, in reality, it is way more complicated than that. So on paper, we promise ourselves that a human will provide quality control. But what does the research show? We all suffer from something called automation bias. We just tend to assume the computer is right. We promise a human will add context. But in the real world, facing crazy workloads, they often just rubber stamp whatever the machine decides. That oversight, it becomes a total illusion.
And regulators are definitely catching on. The UK's Information Commissioner's Office makes it crystal clear. Just having a human click a button is not meaningful oversight. The input has to be real, a genuine review, not just checking a box to get through the day. The hard part is making that actually happen.
And here's the scariest part. This supposed solution can actually make things worse. By creating a false sense of security, it lets governments roll out biased or flawed algorithms claiming, "Don't worry, it's safe because a human is in the loop," when in reality, the algorithm is the one calling the shots. Okay, so all of this brings us to the ultimate question. We've seen the utopian dream and the dystopian nightmare. We've seen the messy reality of today. So, what's the fundamental choice we're all facing here? This is the fork in the road. It's really that simple. If we use it correctly, artificial general intelligence could make our democracies more responsive, more fair, and more efficient than ever. But if we use it poorly, or without the right guardrails, it could concentrate power and destroy the very institutions that protect our freedom. Some academics use this great metaphor for this. They call it the narrow corridor. A free society needs a state that's strong enough to provide services and enforce laws, but not so strong that it crushes individual liberty. AGI is a force so powerful it could shove us right out of that corridor, either toward an all-powerful despotic leviathan or into total chaos. And so we end right back where we started, but now with the full picture. We've seen the potential for perfect, unbiased efficiency, and its potential for perfect, inescapable control. An AI ruler